There are no objective reviews. That's true except for mine.
I've been meaning to make this video for a while, and now is as good a time as any. I gave a negative review to Lords of the Fallen in my last video, and the fans of that game had some criticisms which I will address in this one.
Oh, good.
But this video isn't exactly about Lords of the Fallen. I've already talked about what I think about that game. The point of this video is more general, and what I say here will apply to any review or video that I make in the future.
He can do it.
First of all, one of the criticisms I received is that I can't have a review if I haven't completed the game. And I'm just going to nip that in the bud before I move forward. I don't have to finish a game to develop a negative impression on it and make a video and review it. I don't subscribe to the philosophy that a review needs to have.
I think that's true. You don't have to finish the game, but I think that reviews that don't finish the game should be contextualized around that.
Have you beat the game?
To an extent.
If I play a game for 15 hours and what I find there convinces me to stop.
I think it's also about time, too. That's a very good point, right? It's like if you play this game for like 30 hours, you can give a review for the game. But if you play it for like 3 hours, then probably not. But first impressions are valuable, too. Yeah, you're right. It should just be contextualized that way.
Then that, too, is valuable information for a review. And if anything, that's an opinion you can trust more, because it means this game was so bad that I willingly gave up the revenue that I might have made by having this video be longer and explaining all the things I didn't like all the way up to the end game and New Game Plus. Now, to some degree, I understand the surprise because all the reviews I've done up to this point have been reviews where I completed the whole game. But that's been a coincidence. I've never seen it as a necessity. And often, beating the game...
Well, it would make sense, right? It's like, why would you want to play through an entire... Like, I have reviewed games. Like, I did this with Wulong Fallen Dynasty. You guys remember that? So, I made a video of Wulong, and it got over 500,000 views. And it was just a straight VOD of me playing the game. And everybody was roasting me, shitting on me for saying that I was bad at the game. And the only reason I didn't like it is because I was bad at the game and I couldn't beat it. So I beat the entire game. And I finished the review and I said, this game sucks just as much as I said it did. I was right the whole time. You guys are fucking idiots. Everybody's high on copium. And in 1 year, the only time people will remember this game is to talk about how bad it was. And I was right, just like I always am. And guess what happens? It's happening again. And I told myself with Lords of the Fallen, I'm not going to do this because I have other things that I want to do with my life rather than prove a couple of internet people wrong. People are saying that they liked it. If they like it, that's fine. The thing is, guys, I said this with Starfield, okay? If you want to eat shit, eat the shit, but do not try to tell me that it's chocolate. Don't be, oh, it's chocolate's so good. No, it's not. That's, you're eating shit. And you can eat the shit. Eating shit's fine. But god damn it, it's not chocolate. I eat shit games all the time. New World. New World was shit for like a year. And I still ate it. But I didn't sit around and say, oh, it's actually a really good game and you don't really understand. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. You can admit that your game has problems. It's okay.
Game isn't enough for people, really. Like for Starfield, did you...
No, the only reason why people are saying that... So, no, this is actually not true. Number one, nobody actually believes, very few people, actually believe you have to finish a game in order to give it a review. The only reason why they're saying that is because your review doesn't agree with them. You're saying something that they don't agree with, so then they turn around and they say, oh, well, your opinion doesn't even matter at all because you didn't finish the game. So it's actually, it has nothing to do with the principle of finishing or not finishing a game. Like, for example, if he had brought out a video and it was his first impressions or his review from Lords of the Fallen after playing it for 5 hours and it was this great game, those same people, I bet, would be in the comments, wow, dude, this is such a great video. I really appreciate you covering this game. It's such a great game. No, there's no principle to this at all. These are just people looking for a reason to invalidate what you are saying because they disagree with it. Same thing with Actman on the Diablo 4 review. True.
All of the main campaigns. Did you significantly do the New Game Plus content?
People actually thought that I needed to do the New Game Plus content on Starfield, and that's whenever the game was going to get good.
So big, you can't have an appropriate review without 100 hours of playtime on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did put 100 hours of playtime into Starfield. And I hated it. The last 85 hours were as bad as the first 15. I'm not going to play 50 hours of your favorite pile of slop just so I can have a slightly...
Yes, you don't have to eat shit for 100 hours. Sometimes you just have to take a couple of nuggets, take a bite. Ugh. Oh, bro, this is not chocolate. Oh, my God, it's not chocolate, I'll tell you that. And that's it.
Better review. Especially when its problems and the source of my criticisms are obvious in the first 15.
Mm-hmm.
So you should consider this notice if it's a prerequisite for you that a game is absolutely finished before you can have an opinion on it, then many of my reviews may not be what you want. Okay, the other criticism that I received, and this is the one that I really want to talk about, is that my review was too subjective. Let me share some...
Oh my God.
examples.
That's just like your opinion, man.
Very subjective review with very few objective reasons on why it's a bad game. It's fair for you not to like a game, but if you're going to make a review on why a game is objectively bad, then don't just come up with a bunch of subjectively based points on why it's bad. I think if you change the title to I don't like it instead it's bad, the video would make more sense. Nearly all of your negative points are just your preference and are not indicative of the quality of the game as a whole. Okay.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Absolutely. There are a lot of things that are just a preference. And you guys remember whenever I did the review of Lies of P, and I said that a lot of these were my opinion. Like, I don't like delay attacks. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily bad, fundamentally. It's just that I don't like them. But there are things that are objectively bad, like, for example, animation tells, or broken animations in general. He didn't advertise his review as that. The reason why he didn't advertise his review as that is because it goes without saying. Every review is going to be a subjective experience of the content creator. Like, to say that he didn't say that it's subjective. It is, of course it is. It's a review. Like, it goes without saying.
The issue with this argument. There's no such
there are people that like eating shit. Let them go for it.
Thing as an objective review. And if there was, you've never seen it. You've never in your life seen an objective review. Because it wouldn't be interesting. There'd be next to nothing you can say about the game if you weren't talking about your subjective impressions. When you go to a channel and you look up reviews for a game, you're asking for that reviewer's personal opinion on the quality of the game.
Yes, exactly. It's always going to be personal opinion. That's always what it's going to be. I'm just tired of the Souls-like games from From Software. I think the fact there's even a genre now is because a bunch of nerds are creatively bankrupt and can't figure out a new type of game. Well, I don't know about that. I like the Souls-like games, and I enjoy playing a lot of them. It's certainly better than, I don't know, another, like, looter shooter game or something else. Like, I'd rather have that than a bunch of other things. I feel like I'm being catered to. I'm happy. Some things are objective. So these are things like, okay, here is objective things, subjective things. Performance, graphics, graphic fidelity. What I mean by graphical fidelity is like how detailed are the models and how does something look. Now, this is graphic style and difficulty. Yeah, how many polygons are in a sword? Delay attacks. Amount of mobs. Other objective things. Animations. I think that animations being good or bad is actually objective. Like, for example, if an animation is, like, just badly telegraphed, then I think that is a objective problem. Yeah, hitboxes. Style is not objective. Yeah, and that's why it says subjective things underneath it. Yeah, read. Voice acting. Voice acting, basically subjective, generally subjective. UI, UI could be either one. It really depends on UI. Gameplay subjective for the most part. Most people don't like certain games. But yeah, I do think there are objective things that you can talk about with a game, such as hitboxes, animation, performance, and actual graphical fidelity. Those are real.
Measurements of quality are subjective.
Mm-hmm.
If my review was going to limit itself to just talking about objective attributes of a game and criticize it on that basis, then I would be limited to talking about things like bugs, performance issues, things of which Lords of the Fallen has many, by the way.
Yeah.
I would be talking about how many times the game crashed when I tried to boot it, how many valuable resources I lost as a result of some bug. I talk about...
Yeah, bugs are also objective. Like, I would say bugs are like... You can say... Now, bugs, it's kind of like a different thing, right? Because, like, for example, there are games that have a lot of bugs, but those bugs do not actively inhibit a person's enjoyment of the game. So it's like, oh yeah, this game does have a lot of bugs, but I don't really care about the bugs. Like Starfield, right? Bethesda bugs, etc. So, like, that's subjective, but it having the bugs is not subjective.
Now, the multiplayer is nearly unplayable. You want an objective review? Here, let me give you an objective review for Lords of the Fallen. Here it goes. Lords of the Fallen came out in 2023. The game has levels and bosses. The game has a lot of different weapons and spells. It's commonly classified as an action RPG. The game doesn't have save.
This reminds me a lot of a lot of actual game reviews. This is actually kind of like starting to stress me out. Like, wow.
Points. You can upgrade your weapons, but only if you want to. I'm not saying that you'll have a better experience if you upgrade your weapons, because you might have a better experience if you don't upgrade your weapons. Your personal experience is an opinion and outside the purview of this review. This has been my Lords of the Fallen review. Thank you for coming.
Well, that was interesting.
Okay. My point is,
that helps.
An objective review would only be able to talk about facts and wouldn't be able to extrapolate as to what the facts mean. You can't talk about quality without talking about opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Let me demonstrate that with this comment that I showcased earlier. In the beginning of the comment, it says, fast response versus methodical, more clunky, intentional combat, the amount of enemies and combat pacing, the art style direction, and overall difficulty are all things that are subjective, and every person who plays will have different preferences and feelings about each.
I feel like the people that say that are just trying to find an excuse for why they like something that a lot of other people don't like. You're right. There are people out there that like eating shit. But does that mean that you should have it on a menu? True. Yeah, there are some people that are going to like something.
Now, all the things that he just said are true. This guy clearly understands the difference between objective and subjective. Let's see what he has to say a little further down in his comment.
Mm-hmm.
Liza P., a game which you said to be one of the best non-FromSoft Souls-likes, has much more objective design issues, such as incredibly linear map design, to the point that almost can't be considered a Souls-like, inability to respec until after one of the hardest bosses in the game, limited...
Victor? Is one of the hardest bosses in the game? Maybe he's talking about the swamp monster.
Build variety. The player
Sounds
having
pretty
zero
subjective to me, though.
poise despite enemies having 100% poise almost every attack. Multi-phase boss marathons which require you to slowly kill the first phase, only to be killed instantly or before you can fully learn the second phase, and the fact that the game really doesn't do almost anything interesting, or that even resembles the source material of Pinocchio.
Uh-huh.
I really love this comment. I really like this comment, because it shows you the disconnect that happens in people's brains. They're very good at picking out what's subjective in the opinions other people have that don't agree with them. But they're very bad at figuring out what's subjective when it comes to their own opinion.
Well, of course they are, because their opinion isn't subjective. This is just, I mean, yeah, it's one of the hardest bosses. It's all there is to it. Yeah, no, I think he's definitely right about that. Is that people are able to identify when other people aren't being subjective or aren't being objective, but they're not able to identify it themselves.
So in the second part of his comment, he talks about the objective design issues, and then goes on to list a litany of opinions. Linear map design is not an issue, it's a design choice.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's good or bad is an opinion. A non-linear game is not objectively better than a linear game, as a matter of course. The player not having poise is a design choice, and whether or not it works out is a matter of opinion. Bloodborne, a game that Lies of P is clearly inspired by, also didn't have poise. And Bloodborne is one of the most beloved From Software titles.
Yeah, it's, again, people use arguments that are not, they're not consistent. Yeah, exactly. Why doesn't Mario have poise? Yeah, true.
You not being able to learn the second phase of a boss fight before you get killed is not an objective design issue. Yeah. Whether or not it's a good thing that the bosses are harder, that they have...
Exactly. This is the problem with like people that focus on something being objective versus not objective. It's like if a lot of people think something, then maybe it's kind of true, even if it's not objective. Like, for example, a lot of people thought that the amount of mobs in Lords of the Fallen was too high. There were just too many mobs. Like, it was just overwhelming, tedious, and frustrating and annoying. A lot of people said that. Now, does that mean that it's objective? No. But whenever 90% of people are saying something, then it's pretty damn close, isn't it?
Phases, and that you're unlikely to beat it first try, is a matter of opinion. There's not a single objective criticism in this list of objective design issues. And that's not a surprise.
Yeah.
Because you can't say anything about quality without using your own judgment.
Yeah, sure.
From what I can gather in these comments, the problem people are having is that I put "it's bad" in the title, and they took...
Well, the problem that people are having, no, that's not true. The problem people are having is that you don't like the video game that they like. So that's what the problem... So that's the problem, right? Is because you don't like the game that they like. Now, you're supposed to like it because they like it, but you're not liking it. Well, that's a big issue.
A great offense to that. For some reason, they're assuming that I'm proposing that as an objective reality.
Yeah.
They feel compelled to remind me that that's just my personal opinion, as if I didn't know that.
As if it's, yeah, it's...
But I find it odd that that only seems to happen when I'm criticizing something. When I praise a game, it doesn't seem to get this same reaction.
I disagree with that too. I think that if you praise something like Diablo 4, you get the same type of reaction. The only reason that people do that is because they are not hearing what they want to hear. Because the first thing that a lot of people do whenever they hear a review that they disagree with is they look for a way to invalidate the reviewer's perspective, right? You didn't play enough of the game. You're bad at the game. You're being paid by the developers. Like, there's some sort of reason that is not... It's like somehow the opinion that the person has is not valid.
And in other people's Lords of the Fallen reviews, I've seen "it's amazing," "it's good" on the title or thumbnail. Do you also go to their videos and harp on about how that's just their opinion?
No, because it has nothing to do with it being an opinion. Again, it's all about it being an opinion that they disagree with. That's all there is to it. They're just looking for a reason to say why you don't deserve to have the opinion that you do.
Here's the thing.
It is that simple.
I'm not going to put "in my opinion" after every subjective statement that I say in a video. I'm simply not.
Yeah, it's obvious.
It's ridiculous.
It's also redundant. Like, if you watch somebody's video about something and you can't understand it's their opinion, then, well, I mean, you do understand that. You're just saying that to invalidate what they're saying.
Know that when I say something subjective, I know that it's subjective.
Duh.
I don't have to say "in my opinion" to avoid making you offended, and you don't need to remind me. People do not talk that way.
No.
The fact that it's an opinion is implied.
It is.
If I say the enemy placement in Lords of the Fallen is awful, you should know that that's just an opinion, yes, whether or not I put...
But damn, man, is it close to a fact? But, like, holy shit, bro. Like, how... I mean, it is... I mean, shit, bro. Like, every area is like this, right? Like, every mob is shooting you. There's the bad boys. I mean, like, oh, it is so close to a fact. It might as well be a fucking fact, though. But damn, it's close enough.
The "in my opinion" tag next to it. It doesn't mean that I'm proposing what I think is an objective vision of reality.
Yeah.
and anybody that enjoyed the enemy placement in Lords of the Fallen is stupid and wrong. I'm not saying that, and you should know that I'm not saying that, even if I don't assure you of that every 5 seconds. And that's the end of this video. In my opinion, you should unsubscribe and unclick the bell notification. If you have an opinion, then please put it in the comment section, especially if it's a particularly aggressive one. And if your opinion of me is not negative enough to do that, then I'm sure I'll change that opinion in a future video. Until then, thank you very much for watching.
I mean, there was some, I think it is implied, the statement itself isn't, it can be interpreted either way. Is Golem a bad game, or is everybody's opinion that it's a bad game? Well, like, at what point is an opinion a fact? Like, whenever you're talking about a generality of how people are interpreting something. Like, I think it just becomes, like, basically a de facto fact. Love it, no issues with the game after 140 hours? Yeah, but what I'm saying is, so, like, here's really my point. Is that if you're enjoying a game, that doesn't invalidate somebody else who's not enjoying it. That doesn't mean that, like, their opinion of the game is somehow invalid or it doesn't matter. And in the same way that it doesn't invalidate, like, your opinion whenever I say the game is bad. So, like, if I'm saying I don't enjoy Lords of the Fallen that much, and then you say, oh, I'm having fun with it, well, that's great. You're having fun with it. So, like, me not liking it, I don't think that I don't think that what I'm saying is really wrong. It's just that I place higher value in it than you do, which is okay. It's not a collectively bad game because it's your opinion. You can't say it's objectively a bad game. Can you just make a whole video about how it's a bad game if it's praised by the community? Well, I think there's a lot of people that have said bad things about Lords of the Fallen. I feel like these are the highest rated reviews here. There's some people here that are saying positive. This guy has 700 hours on how? Oh, this person has already reviewed the game. Oh, they work there. Okay, there's some positive, some negative. Yeah, there it is. 700. Well, he works there, so, like, yeah, obviously. So there's some positive, some negative. It's kind of about, I'd say, 50-50. Maybe, yeah, maybe not 50-50. Maybe it's worse than 50-50. But, you know, I'm just saying, like, a lot of people have these same opinions, right? And it's not that everybody likes it. I think that there have been tons of people who didn't like it at all. I'll read a few of the comments here. The bad thing is you have people that you need to persuade, that need to persuade you the game you play is bad. You're stupid for playing it. Yeah. It's actually hilarious. The devs put out an update today that made enemy aggro range smaller, and they even removed some enemy density, so even your subjective opinion is one that developers agree on. Yes, I think that's very funny too. I think a lot of people said this, doing us all a favor with this video, bullshit approach to your channel. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, subjectivity is implied. I hate whenever people put out a review and then they get told it's their opinion. I'm gonna look into this right here. Yeah, there's the video. Make sure to give it a like. This is a great fucking video. I love this. Let me see here. Where's the pod review that worships how many enemies they put in the game? Like, oh man, I can't get enough of these enemies, need more. Most of the times people don't care about the issues rather than like them. So, like, some people care a lot about story. I don't care at all about story. So it's not that I really like the story, whereas they didn't like it. It's that I don't even know it exists. Yeah, I didn't even give a shit about it to begin with.